Have you ever wondered what would happen if an amateur player played a world champion such as Magnus Carlsen? In a Wall Street Journal video, a man named Max Deutsch has been taking on multiple challenges, including solving a Rubik's Cube, memorizing a deck of cards in under 2 minutes. His next logical step was to challenge the world champion in a game of chess, a feat similar to thinking, how about I'll take some boxing lessons and in 30 days try and fight and beat Mike Tyson. Needless to say, it didn't go too well for Max, although he did put up a decent fight in the beginning. His plan was to create an algorithm to solve chess and then beat Magnus by sort of turning his brain into some sort of chess computer so he'd always know the best move in the position. Although an interesting strategy, at the time of the game, his computer had not finished creating the algorithm, which left him stuck to his own devices and forced to play the game like he would have had to normally. So in the game, Max had the white pieces and Magnus had the black pieces. So Max had to begin with e4, Magnus applied e5, classic symmetrical defense, knight f3, knight c6, and a bishop b5. You might be thinking, well, are we watching a Grandmaster game? Well, no, Max Deutsch is obviously pretty prepared with his opening theory, playing Roy Lopez, and actually sticks with a basically main line, going into almost the first 7 moves. Let me see bishop e3, it's all pretty perfect play here. Castles maybe slightly off the main lines, but this is what you would see almost at the Grandmaster level. Knight c3, good play by Max, getting another piece into the game. And then we see e6, and according to the engine here, Max has a pretty marginal advantage of 0.6. It's not going to win you the game, but to be in a decent position against a world champion, it's nothing to sniff at, although we are only 8 moves in. So then we see knight d5, and then this exchange just doesn't benefit white in any meaningful way. Now, I mean, you have the e-file, but then so does black. You kick this knight, but you just make it go into the center, and your bishop just doesn't do anything, so not a great plan for Max here. As we've just seen knight e5, and then this allows the knight to sort of travel to g4, attack your bishop, and then almost attack your king as well. It's just not a great move. So you can see, not great middle game planning here. Then we see rook e1 by Max, trying to get another piece into the game. Magnus immediately jumps on knight g4, attacks the bishop, also attacks a bunch of things in the white position. This knight is quite a strong piece, and it's also defended as well. We see queen f3 by Max, trying to maybe put some pressure on this knight and defend his king a little bit more. Magnus immediately swoops in, queen to h4. He's on the attack. He's just, even this few moves, is already putting a lot of pressure on the white position. Because obviously this is threatening checkmate. Well, a nasty check on h2. It's not actually checkmate, the king can run away. So we see h3, Max doesn't want to receive that check. And this also has the benefit of kicking the knight out. But the knight's not going to go out, it's just going to takes the bishop. You can recapture with the queen, but this just makes your position much worse. This is actually a mistake from white, because this allows bishop takes d4, defended by the queen, so he's just lost a knight here. We see queen to d2, and because of that, Magnus thinks, okay, I'll just take another pawn. Max's rook is hit, so he has to move out of the way. We see rook a to b1, and then bishop e5. This bishop is an absolute killer, disconnecting the rook. So now this bishop and rook combo, it could be sort of strong, it's just absolutely meaningless. And then we just see rook b4. Max desperately trying to do something here, trying to start something in the position. Maybe kick the queen out. We just see queen f6. Queen just goes back to his home square. Now you've got a bit of a battery here, but it doesn't really see much. Max decides to go bishop to d3, tries to get his bishop into the game, but on a slightly better square, admittedly. But he's just sort of biting on granite here. This pawn is just so well defended. So interesting play here by Max. I mean, this rook, it was a one mover, you know, it seemed like a good thing to do a move ago, but now this rook just looks a bit dumb. I mean, thank God it's defended, but it's not doing too much here. It should be maybe doubling on the e-file be a better plan, or even maybe trying to later on rotate it to h4, try and get some sort of attack going with an idea, maybe queen h6. So bishop c3 played by Magnus. Brutal move. Again, this rook that was misplaced. You know what they say, loose pieces fall off. The queen's going to have to move. This is in fact a fork of the rook, so he saves the queen. This is a decent move for one move, attacks the queen. So if you take the rook, he would take the queen. Thing is, Max can just trade the queens, and it was a fork of the rooks with the bishop. So one rook still hanging, takes the rook, and Max now has a bishop and a rook against 2 bishops and 2 rooks. Not ideal. Safe to say he didn't win this. Funny to see him not resign here. You know, if any Grandmaster game, they would just resign, but you can get to see Magnus convert, which is a little bit more interesting. So Magnus brings a rook, brings a bishop, comes in with the pawns, exchanges, and now these 2 bishops are very strong in the back rank. Got the only rook in the game. Check comes in, forking. Check again, takes the bishop. Now this white king is very exposed. Bishop now cuts off a lot of the key squares. King is forced onto the back rank. Check, it's now mate in 4. Check with the rook, defended by the bishop. Obviously king can't take his own pawn and run over here. So forced onto the back rank. Then we see check again, discover the check with the bishop by moving the rook. King e1, bishop comes in to cut off the squares. Now he's hopelessly stuck in a mating net. Bishop d3, and then look at all the squares these bishops cover. This is absolutely brutal. Doesn't really matter where you go. It's going to be made on the next move because you're cut off each way as well. So we see king to e1, and then rook a1 is checkmate. I don't know why Max thought he could win this game. Seemed like a decently strong player, to be fair. He played the opening quite well, considering that being a grandmaster is not essential but practically a prerequisite to beating the world champion. If you see that there's actually more, like 1,000 more billionaires than grandmasters in chess, really puts it into perspective how hard it is to be in the upper echelons of the game. And Magnus is a super grandmaster world champion, so it's almost ridiculous when you consider how hard Max's challenge was to set out to him to train for chess for 30 days and hopefully beat Magnus. And his idea with the computer algorithm is quite interesting, but of course a computer is not going to solve chess anytime soon. Not a great plan. If you enjoyed this video, I think there'll be another one popping up that you might also enjoy, so you might want to check that out. And I'll see you guys in the next one.